with the evolution of, say, the hybrid approach, is just how clear cut it is. Yet we've been taking so long to get here as an industry that that fans and customers are okay with getting served ads if it means they'll save the smallest amount on their subscription costs.
Hi everybody, for this episode of Retention Zone, I'm going back to episode number 1, and I'm happy to have, for the second time, Nick Meacham, the CEO of Sports Pro. Hi, Nick.
Hey, Carlo. Good to be back with you after a very fast-paced year we've had across the industry, and been enjoying following the Retention Zone's journey over that time as well.
Thank you. And yeah, so 1 year has passed, and I was just thinking, okay, what happened in streaming in this last 12 months? And I have a few things, I remember a few things, but I mean, you're a more constant observer, and also with Sports Pro and all the, the news you publish, you're more on the journalist side. I'm more on the whatever I'm doing side. So I'm sure you have a more consistent view of what happened in the last 12 months in streaming, in monetization, and streaming profitable or not, etc. So I'll let you go for it.
Yeah, I mean, we spent obviously a lot of time at Sports Pro covering what's going on around the entire sports industry, but especially across the sports media landscape. And I think we've just seen a real evolution over the last 12 months of the conversation, and that's stemming around monetization and the depth I think we've seen from big tech really leaning into trying to be an aggregator. You even saw, I guess, even someone like DAZN, who you wouldn't put in the big tech bucket at all, but they're a big a global streamer, wanting to play that aggregator role. And then the complexity around this aggregation approach when they become aggregated on a big tech platform who's aggregating. So definitely aggregation was the theme, and also distribution of content in more places than ever before. I think that's really the focus of the last 12 months has been on, is just where can people get more and more content out. The notion of exclusivity has been probably, I've heard the term more than ever in the last 12 months, of co-exclusivity, where people are happy to share the exclusive nature of those rights, whether it be through streaming and non-streaming, or like rather than really ring fencing those in isolation. So I just think we've seen a lot of evolutions, or refinements, I'd say, to the approach of people's or sports approach to the media landscape than we have before, where I think it was a much more simplified instance of, do we have it all behind a paywall? Do we not? Do we sell to a broadcaster? Do we not? Now it's so complex. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, I think in the past I used the term multi-layer distribution, which if, I don't know, pre-pandemic was, I remember where the big news was, I don't know, 2 national broadcasters joining forces because they share the rights for the football league, and they wanted to, make it easy for customers. But it was like huge news. Now, I don't even remember. I think Apple TV is on Amazon. I don't remember. So there are so many combination and layers, as you said. For example, I watched the Olympics. I was in Greece in August, and I watched it on, I think, Amazon Prime, whatever the name was there, the Max channel / Eurosport, whatever. So I watched it on Prime, but it was inside the channel. So again, not that user experience was top, but there's so many ways that content is distributed this day that is absolutely, and it's all, I think, an effort to make it somehow sustainable, because instead of saying, as you said, should I do this or, it become and, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think if in some ways it reflects the arrival of fast channels, in terms of when we saw, let's say Samsung and LG and Roku and launching this array of channels you had access to. No one really knew what they were going to be serving. You just knew that they had something there available. And this aggregation approach of big tech is kind of the same thing. I don't think it is any way a consumer knows where to go for certain things. They're hoping they might stumble across them in the array of options they're being given by these platforms. And so I just think there's a bit of discoverability is attempting to be resolved in some instances, but it's certainly still very fragmented for no one to have the surety of knowing where to go for anything. Like no one's going to many of these platforms just because they want to watch Max, they want to watch the Olympics. Okay, how do I get access to that as easy as possible? They just want to find it. You can't get that information served unless you then check on your mobile phone and then have to jump back to your smart TV. It's just still very clunky a journey for consumers. So I think it's definitely evolved. It's still got that balance between sports role as an appointment viewing. So the Olympics is a great example of that. But then just having the stickiness of live sports when it's not appointment viewing, but people stumble across it and just keep it on and watch it through and see what happens. So it's just become a very complex environment. It's become even more complex in the last 12 months in quite a rapid rate. And there's still some really big question marks going into the next 12 months plus with what some of the bigger players are actually going to do. They've been making a lot of noises. Netflix, YouTube, are they going to continue to take, I guess, a bit of their audience time, market share, whatever you want to call it, of the sports community? Because they're certainly leaning that way.
And we also had the news of the big bundles, even if at the moment they're blocked by the legal issues in the US. So I think big bundles maybe is a theme also of the last 12 months. I don't know if you have an opinion on that. I think until it really happens and we see if it works or not, I think it's we still have to wait. But what's your point of view on what is the name? Venue, I think.
Yeah, Venue. Yeah, I definitely, when I said this on our Stream Time podcast when it first launched, I was racking through the different possibilities of what the podcast, what the network could be, whether it was Venue or something else. They were trying to come up with like we've had with DAZN and others across the years, with someone's trying to do a bit of a play on words. But yeah, Venue was the name and is the name. It's still obviously pending the Fubo legal case, which is progressing slowly. Interesting to see what does happen with that. But I think the concept bundle has been tried and tested in the cable world for so long, where I think you got to distill down to the real why here. And I think sometimes people have thought too highly of the value of live sports in isolation. The aggregate, the sum of all parts of live sports together, as a sports fan, I might just want to turn my TV and hope I find some good sports to watch, not always needing the specific event to be happening that I need to tune in and tune on for. And I think it's what Venue were trying to lean into, was trying to be, I think they had something like 50-60% of all live sports were going to be on the platform. And I think that's that sort of aggregation of content of that scale makes it just so when I turn on my TV and I want to watch some sports, they're going to be my first pick, rather than me stumbling through the endless channels that they might be getting served through cable or having to bounce between an Amazon or a YouTube or other experiences. So there is some good logic to it. But then you have obviously the instances when you take a partnership approach, the joint venture they've done between Warner Brothers Discovery, Disney, and Fox, where what happens if one of them loses a major set of rights with Warner Brothers Discovery and TNT losing basically the NBA, subject to what happens in the courts? That's a big piece of the puzzle that they're losing out of that mix, and they're losing it to Amazon. So, I mean, obviously the devil's always in the detail. We're not privy to those. I'm sure there's ways that they've mitigated and prepared themselves for that risk if the deal was going to happen or not happen. But it's such a complex environment. I'm pretty sure that the lawyer's getting very well paid across the industry right now. That's for sure.
And on the other end, I was thinking of monetization models. Clearly, the hybrid ad, so the balancing the ad part and raising the prices, maybe also being extremely careful with things like password sharing. And I'm talking mostly about Netflix, but also the others. Amazon did the same in January. So I think they at least the big one, had found a way to profitability, which is on one end good news, because if nobody makes money, then we will have a problem very soon. And if it can cascade to sport, to everything, if it's not, at the end, nobody will find a way of being profitable. Only, I mean, and again, I don't know for long, but people like Amazon or the really huge one can stay and wait, right? Like I think Amazon model, not Amazon Prime, Amazon model was, will wait, but then will make an amazing amount of money because of volume. I think that there's a path. I don't know if I haven't seen maybe a lot of innovation in monetization model per se. I think we saw all a very, I would careful attention to things like retention and trying to understand churn and spending a lot of I want brain power, and also needs really how to retain customers with so many levers, from how you treat them, how you offer them, and many other things, content, the experience, etc. So I think I think it's a year where that happened. I don't remember, like, I don't know, I was expecting like micro transaction, these things. They're still small experiments. I don't know if you saw something, I mean, more innovative in that end.
Oh, definitely. I think there's so many things you've touched upon there that we could talk about. I think the thing that's really been interesting to me is with the evolution of, say, the hybrid approach, is just how clear cut it is. Yet we've been taking so long to get here as an industry that
Mm.
that fans and customers are okay with getting served ads if it means they'll save the smallest amount on their subscription costs. They don't mind that, and they don't really see ads as really impacting the viewer experience like everyone thought that it did. And that's why
I personally
Netflix.
disagree, but I personally disagree. I hate, don't, I will cut this, maybe not, but I don't like that when I'm watching something. But again, it depends. It
I
depends. If
know.
it's why not?
So, don't get me wrong. Actually, I agree with you. For me personally, I don't like it when ads interrupting. I hate it as well. I'd be rather pay for it. But in general terms, what
I
we've
don't
seen
know,
it is
absolutely.
it's what the customer seems to be happy with. I don't really get it, but hey, a couple of if all it takes is a couple of dollars saved to actually drive up the average revenue per user in some instances because the amount of ads that can be
Absolutely.
served, it's a win. It's a win for everyone in that instance. I think what's been really interesting to follow is actually what's happened direct outside of the direct sports media market, which is blurring the lines of the commercial mix, and that is just there's more interest than ever in digital assets and digital sponsorship opportunities for all corners of the sports industry, not just I'd say the big players, the streaming levels, the ones that are striking all the major ad marketing deals and ad media buys. That just is becoming an interesting mix because it means that the value is almost becoming resurgent again for a sports property who may have said, look, we don't have the resource we want to invest into creating our own direct-to-consumer proposition because we can't monetize it. We're just going to double down on, like, say, social media and the like. Well, actually, because now they're getting better and better at creating bespoke and behind-the-scenes content, and their own content in-house as every sport has become more of a media business. Now they're able to do some fun things that can be valuable in both their own channels and on other platforms as well. And that's just giving them a little bit more insight, connecting with a very important audience base and just giving them a full spectrum of the sort of the audience mix in the funnel they can target. Whereas I think sports got stuck between an either or, either had to be all social or not. Now they've just, I think, got to the place where they know they have to do a bit of everything and they have to look at monetization at every single layer. And even at the pointy end, the real super fan, you still can't just rely on a subscription model alone. You've got to have the subscription model to add value, but you also have to keep layering on those other ways of driving more value out of it on top of that.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing that maybe we still don't have an answer now is Christmas, with Netflix having the Christmas game. That would be like, I think everybody, I mean, everybody in our industry, apart from enjoying Christmas and everything that happened after that, will want to see the number or will be curious about how it went. Hopefully, I mean, with good quality video for everybody and no hiccups. But that will be something to watch, I would think, if I think to the end of the year from now.
Obviously, Netflix is probably the story of this year because they finally started moving into doing some live sport and entertainment events. They're moving into serious ad sales, so not just ad-funded model or a hybrid approach on subscriptions, but indeed going out and selling massive and major ad inventory in the same way that NBC, CBS, ABC, and all those major US networks have been doing for some time. It's a really fascinating to see where they take it next. They've done deals with WWE, the NFL. They've got the Tyson and Paul fight, which is one probably their biggest appointment viewing event they've had from a sports and entertainment perspective. They've done a whole bunch of things which I haven't been that impressed with, but overall, there's one thing for sure: they're clearly coming into sports and continue to do more and more. You can't just do the Christmas games and Netflix are, and then say that's it. We're going to put our feet up and not touch the sports from here on. It just doesn't make any sense, particularly if they start building value and delivering value for those advertisers. The advertisers are going to want more as well, so they're going to buy more assets if it works. So I really hope it works, because it's great for the industry, not great for the big the decision makers at other streamers who have to compete with Netflix now, but good for the sports industry as a whole if it works.
Yeah. So maybe my last question is: have you seen anything that caught your attention from sport entities? We discussed NFL DAZN, so NFL Game Pass went to DAZN, inside DAZN. NFL Plus, I don't use it directly, but it seems to be doing reasonably well in the US. The NBA app, which includes also streamings, also for sure they did something there, that they invested efforts there. Anything else directly from the sport world that is worth mentioning for you?
Well, I think it's worth going back full circle, looking at the DAZN approach and looking at what they've done since even they launched the NFL Game Pass and did that deal. We've seen them do other deals with other platforms to become more of a destination and basically house the OTT offering, the direct-to-consumer offering that others had, into its core proposition. You're talking courtside. I think it's 1891. I always get confused with my numbers on that, which is the FIBA offering. You've got the you've got the National League for the UK, where all the different leagues are now available on the platform, which is more of a scaled play, but still interesting that they package that all together and launches an add-on subscription service. They've got Rally TV, so they're adding those in and targeting specific sets of audiences. So I'm interested to see if they keep doubling down on that, because they've had to make major commitments to the NFL to take this approach, because the initial, going away from what they were doing, like we talked about 12 months ago, I had some serious question marks on why would they do this. The NFL has a unique way of doing things. They're always one step. I don't want to say it's always one step ahead, but they're either one step ahead or one step aside everyone else doing something else slightly different. And the deal with DAZN was certainly one of those. So I'm fascinated to see if that does pay off and they continue to lean into that. They've also got the women's, I think the UEFA Champions League, and they've also commoditized that into a sort of subscription offering, although it's register only, because I think they need to keep that free. So I just think that type of approach, and then what we've seen at some of the other big tech companies, what we've seen with Amazon, are they going to continue to almost fight for the streaming assets of these properties and continue that? Will we see F1 take a move? Will we see will the NBA look into it? Is this like a domino effect of more of the organizations to come? Or actually, are we, because we're seeing a bit more maturity in the operations of sports to do more media content than ever themselves, will they almost take back control of that and get refocused on building a very much an end-to-end approach? I think that's the thing I'm interested to see. It's a bit blurry to now as to which direction we're going to go with it. It feels like we are going to see more and more of that. I certainly am hearing that more football clubs are looking back at this space again after sort of stepping in and dipping their toes in and out a couple of times across the last 10 years, with expectations probably being misaligned with what access to preseason games might deliver.
Yeah, if I'm thinking sport, I'm thinking FIVB, the World Volleyball. They're 1.5 million. So decent number, to be honest. One Football is still doing partnership with leagues. Dine, our friend Andreas, they're going through the first season and going into the second. So there's still something happening at a smaller scale, obviously, compared to the big one. So by the way, I like to do always episodes that can last for a long time, but I mean, we're seeing each other after some time in Madrid. Sports from Madrid starts next Wednesday, and I will be there 2 days, also moderating a panel with Atletico Madrid. I'm also moderating a panel at another event, again with Atletico Madrid, so I'm thinking they will give me a season pass at this point, because it's totally random, but I mean, in 3 days, I'm 3 times with Atletico Madrid on stage, so that's a funny. But so what's going on very quickly, what's going on in Madrid this time?
Well, I'm also recording and doing a session on stage, a Stream Time Sports live podcast session where we've got the CEO of One Football, actually, Patrick Fisher, on stage. the CEO of Kings League on stage as well, which would be interesting to compare and contrast their approach. We've also got we've got a lot of other stuff going on through the event, of course, around all aspects of the sports media landscape. I'm looking forward to do that recording. I'm going to be trying to do probably a little bit more walking around the venue and doing some more ad hoc interviews myself as part of the gig
So
these days. So
we will compete.
yes, well, I'll come and hunt you down, Carlo. Maybe we'll do something together and we can record each other simultaneously. So looking forward to it. We've even got a paddle tournament happening on the Tuesday prior to the event, which I'm hoping to get invited to. So a lot of different fun things going on, but should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
Last joke of the episode, I'm more of a pickleball guy. Not at all. Even if I just remember when I was a kid, I was playing in the streets here, and I think we played pickleball without knowing what it was.
Exactly. I think many people did. I think that's like, it was basically particularly for kids, they had the junior nets basically with a smaller like court space. That's basically what pickleball is. Pickleball is really fun and easy to walk on tomorrow. With paddle, you've got a lot more to understand, a lot more complexity. It's a bit more like tennis, but actually probably harder in some ways. So pickleball is definitely a lot more fun and easy to walk onto a court. I definitely enjoy all tennis sport, racket sports these days. So hopefully I'll get a chance to get out there.
You're talking to the ATP Final City, Torino, just happening now. Sinner won again last night. So it's everything. It's happening like 2 kilometers from where I live. So it's a great week for Torino. Va bene.
That's the biggest. Oh, sorry, Carl. I was just going to say, is that the biggest event that happens in the year outside of the football, any of the football matches?
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
And we're trying to keep it for a while now. Let's see how it goes. Va bene. So see you in Madrid. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Carlo. Ciao.